What up, Internet? It's your boy John, and we're back with another episode of the Just No BS podcast. As always, I'm joined with my two co hosts.
Dev?
And Carol.
All right, boys, how you feeling? We back. It's
Yeah.
been shorter than a month this time.
Aha. We did
Improve.
it, boys.
Improve.
For anybody who doesn't know, we are the world's most inconsistently consistent podcast ever. Don't you forget it. We come here whenever we want to show up and talk about some nonsense. We do some intellectualism too, but we usually like to start things off with a little bit of nonsense. And for the first episode in several episodes, I don't have a why y'all people be hating on women topic today. So y'all have been behaving. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
We might get clipped up for one of the topics, but hey, we'll let that sit where it lays.
Hey, we respect women over here. Anything we talk about is in defense of women. So I don't know what there's a clip other than them lying. So
It's all AI.
It's all AI. It's not real. Fake news.
we're gonna get into AI, bro. Let's not even talk about that.
But hey, if anyone ever has any questions on what we say or do here, then, feel free to let us know and we can talk about it.
Yep.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good jazz.
Exactly.
Devin out here starting the plugs. I feel you, bro.
Hey, man.
So, as always, we have to talk about what's new. Because there's always a story in everything that's new. And if you've been under a rock, America hasn't had a government in about 40 days. Actually, for 40 days exactly. Again, if you haven't been under a rock, it's for a very particular reason. Republicans like taking all of our money and giving it to rich people and leaving us with no health care. Or SNAP. Or any kind of government assistance whatsoever. So, yeah, what y'all think? What y'all think? I'll let you go first, Devin. Because I know Cal's ready to crack an egg over someone's face.
So, first off, because of the particular business that I work in, I see the effects of this firsthand. I'm not going to go into the details as to what I do, but all I can say is that this has been an absolute nightmare for anyone who happens to work directly for the government, anyone who works for any companies that work for directly for the government or have government contracts, for the people that are involved as well, for the most part, have been in panic as well. Just simply because a lot of people rely on a lot of those benefits, to the point that that is the difference between them being able to go and say, hey, I can feed my kids, or hey, we're actually starving. Fortunately, a lot of nonprofits have been stepping up, when it comes to trying to make sure that people are fed and getting that food out there, but it is nowhere close to as efficient as it is through SNAP. And the fact that we've gone 40 days with this is insane.
Yep. And I work for a company that doesn't necessarily work with the government, but we're close enough in helping people with particular government type of bureaucracy that we don't necessarily feel the effects, but let's just say the worst certain aspects of the government get, unfortunately and sadly, the better a company like mine works. That's all I'm going to go into, and that's a problem in and of itself. So, Cal, talk to us a little bit about strategy and why this is going down a little bit. Hit the movers and shakers. Let them know.
So,
Hit them with the black facts.
cool. With that being said, this administration in its second term has really awakened like the black nationalist in me, like the black radical side of my brain a lot because the quote was essentially to be black and to be in America is to be constantly angry because you're aware of what's going on. And black people historically and systematically get the brunt of the government's bullshit more times than not. We're
So, would
talking,
you say that we're woke?
I mean,
in its original sense,
in
my
its
brother.
original sense. Like we're not, no, we're not gonna allow white people to 6'7" woke. We're not doing that. Get the fuck out the way. That the nigga was talking about killing people in that song. Yo, 6'7".
Uh, uh,
I don't like you niggas. So
and we got our first F-bomb alert 5 minutes in.
my bad, my bad,
No.
my bad. I'm trying to get
Because of a
better.
very good comment, we're actually going to track every episode when the first thing goes off wild now. Welcome to the new aspect of the Just Don't BS podcast.
So what I will say is, we are dealing with a government whose history and roots is racism and sexism. Period. If you look at the founding fathers and things like that, these people were the weirdos over in Europe. They were trying to get rid of these people. They came over here. That's why you send us you're broken, you're poor, you're da-da-da-da. They forgot the subtext. Send the pedophiles, the rapists, the racists, the underdeveloped, the undereducated. That's who came here. If you think that I'm lying, go look up the type of shit that Benjamin Franklin was doing. This man was known as a sexual deviant over there. So much so, he was in a sex cult and tried to get it popping over here. But let's not get distracted. That's the root of this country. And then you look at how it's like this cancer has metastasized itself. You're seeing it where even when it comes to the roots of cinema in the United States is Birth of a Nation. That was the first film showed in the White House. Out the gate.
Hey, man, not even Gene commercials are safe anymore. If you know, you know.
With that being said, just to rattle off a few things that got us here, you have an administration that actively set out and achieved firing hundreds of thousands of black women from their government jobs, deported Hispanic people and Hispanic looking or Spanish speaking people to places these people have never been. They cut HBCU funding. They actively sought out to make it harder on black farmers. That's why, ironically enough, the black farmers are suffering the least right now because they were oftentimes given the least and had to operate with less. So them looking at them just like, oh, we just got another dickhead in office. I'll just figure it out like I always do. And then white people didn't start ratcheting up until some weird shit happened, per usual. And then they start doing some weird shit, per usual. So much so, I saw a video this morning of, it was in Portland, because Portland's fucking weird. Shout out to y'all. I love.
But not on fire.
Yes. With that being said, they were out there in front of a ICE facility, if I looked into it correctly, doing a fucking 1980s themed aerobic class. That was their protest.
It's been weirder. Don't forget the dinosaur suits and...
Yep.
The dinosaur suits, they did the naked bike riding protest shit. Like, y'all are fucking weird. We're losing the plot, okay? Y'all are right there.
I don't know, man. It feels like this country's gone so far the opposite direction that it takes a weird thing of a completely balancing scale to get us back to the center.
Hell, maybe.
Forget the scales of justice. We just need the scales of weird, because the more weird stuff this government does, we have to answer with more weirdness in kind.
Yeah.
It's starting to become that, bro.
It's the insanity, man.
And my whole thing is, when we're looking at this, or when we're looking at this administration, these people are actively embodying the old conservatives' dream and what they thought it would be. They're actively fighting against it. Like that bullshit lie that they were telling, hey, the Democrats are going to take your guns away. No. This administration is actively and in an ongoing fight to essentially put you on a registry for buying guns, limit the type of guns that you can buy, and they're tossing around what can be an offense that is okay enough to take away your guns if you commit a crime. Things like that, even if it's nonviolent stuff. Like they always were setting up things to where it's like, if you smoked weed or whatever, you couldn't legally buy a gun. So they've been toying with this for years. But again, they're so used to fear mongering, and people are so used to just eating it up and thinking that this shit is fucking sports. Like, oh, you're a Yankees fan, I'm a Red Sox fan, we just agree to disagree on different things. Bitch, people are dying. Like, this isn't sports, bitch. This is real life. And we still feel, as the last bar, us in the black community still feel the impact of the regime that was the Reagan administration. Years later, we still feel those effects. How long do you think the effects of this administration are going to last? It's probably not going to be until our grandkids that we can look up and be like, oh, okay, well, at least y'all got out from under the brunt of it.
Grandkids.
But that's when they kind of loose back
That's
around
when it
again. So,
recycles. Like,
yeah.
like my grandfather, he was, God bless the dead, when he was like, because he was like losing his memory and everything else like that. But like, he would sit and just like riff about how it was. And like, mind you, this man was like ordained minister, led churches for like decades. But one thing I can say, that man loved fishing. He loved his gardens. And he kept that motherfucking shotgun or two shotguns just in case. Because he came from the mindset of these white people, if they want to, can break in my door and take my life and take my land from me. He was still saying this before he passed. Like, it's still ingrained. Like, that's there. So again, that was a lot. I just think that this is overtly malicious, especially because they're doing this right before the holiday season. So you're having a bunch of people who thought they could possibly swing it. They lost their jobs. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, if you're not in places that like do like the rent protection and things like that, like in the state that I'm in, they just locked in their electricity rates for the next few years. If you're not in a state that cares, like you're losing your job, you're losing your house. A lot of people can't travel right now, obviously. You're losing access to family, community, and like this shit is evil. Calling y'all's Nazis is an insult to Nazis, because at least Nazis could put that shit on. They could dress. God damn it. Y'all look ridiculous.
Facts, though.
Hey, stop before we get clipped, bro.
That's how bad y'all are.
So, real quick, Cal went more to the effects of what's going on in the historical context. Let me actually tell you what's happened over the last 40 days. So, the legislative session was ending, and so this is pretty much any time where any kind of bills or budget has to be finalized, right? So the Democrats, with what little power they have, because they don't control any branch of government whatsoever right now, they were like, oh, bet, we're going to take away the filibuster power from you guys, so none of us are going to vote yes on anything. And because the Republicans don't want a deal, they allowed a government shutdown to happen. I'm going to say that again because look beyond the looking glass here. The Democrats have no power in any aspect of our government at the moment. They are the minority in every single aspect. The Republicans allowed a government shutdown because the Democrats refused to negotiate on any bills because primarily they wanted to protect the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. They want to protect the subsidies because for the last, basically since Obama left office, so 10, 15 years, your health insurance, one, is guaranteed through a governmental option, and two, every option was being subsidized, every public option, so nothing from like a job or like something special like that, or private. Anything that was public was being subsidized by the government, so that way your premiums would stay low. So that way, if you were paying, let's say, $120 a month, that real price of that, without the subsidies, we're talking triple or almost quadruple in some cases. I've already seen some of my people go from like $150 to $100 to $700. So the Democrats decided this is the fight we're going to pick because we want to maintain everyone's health care. So no one, and I mean no one, or no Democratic senator was allowing that to pass. So because of that, while the Republicans do have the majority in the Senate, they do not have filibuster majority, so guaranteed 60 votes. Because of that, that's the one lever the Democrats can pull to kind of get them to capitulate to something. So 40 days have happened, and because there's been a government shutdown, TSA workers, government workers, pretty much any kind of public service government worker, for the most part, has been not getting paid. And a lot of them got RFI'd. They basically mean they got fired. Some got furloughed. and then any of them that are deemed essential workers. So your baggage claim, TSA, air traffic controllers, they haven't been getting paid for last month. Their money's because there's no bill or budget passed, they can't quote unquote afford to pay them. Now, here's an added wrinkle. In the previous budget, there is a discretionary emergency fund, essentially, for any kind of situation that is deemed an emergency. A government shutdown, natural disaster, so on and so forth. In a situation like this, those funds are supposed to be used to help basically cover anything that wouldn't be covered during any kind of situation like this. So in this case, we're talking a government shutdown. But if this had been 3 months ago, this could be something like the flooding in Texas, for example. If FEMA wasn't able to get activated, they'd be able to use this discretionary fund to kind of cover the stopgap while they sorted themselves out. First, our jerk of a president said, no, we're not using it whatsoever. It's not meant to be used for that sort of thing. Well, as always, it's a lie. 2, a court then ruled, no, that is unconstitutional. You have to allocate those funds. That's what they're there for. Use the funds. Then our German president and his administration said no again, and they tried to appeal it to a higher court in the Supreme Court. Luckily, the person in charge of that area of the courts is Ketanji Jackson, who is the left, more progressive, conservative, not conservative, the more left judge, the most recent judge, who was picked by Biden. And thanks to her kind of smart maneuvering, she used her power to send it back to the lower courts, to which they were like, use the funds. So it's within her power to do certain things like that. Basically, by not allowing the Supreme Court to take the case, she kind of tried to force their hand to make use of the funds. Very good tactical move. While this happens, you have about 8. It's 8, right? Yeah, it's 8. Let's just call it a spade. Bitch ass Democrats that weakened up and capitulated. And they went ahead on Sunday night, signed a bill to get the government open. Now, before we continue this conversation, I 1000% feel for the people that are furloughed, RFI'd, or RIF'd, that weren't getting money. I know two dear friends of mine work for the government in DC. They weren't getting paid, so trust me, I get it. But the problem is, this is what's been running our country for too long. Short-sighted mindsets affecting our long-term conditions in this country. Again, I feel for you. I don't want a government shutdown on anyone. I wish that, we had actual adults in our legislative system that cared about people, and we never came to this to begin with. But this is a problem with our system. Anytime the Democrats in modern history have to pick a real fight to show some moral backbone, it never happens. And the Republicans can act like children and run away with everything. So, mind you, I got a question to ask. I've been talking for a little bit. What do you think these 8 Democrats got as a capitulation for agreeing to open the government? Did they get any of the premiums cut down they wanted?
No.
Did we get any kind of protections for people who are working? No.
Nada.
What they got was... This is essentially what they got. And it is... I wish we had a congratulations you played yourself button, because they literally played themselves. These guys got a quote-unquote agreement to hold a vote for this in January. And if that vote doesn't happen, guess what? We're going back to a shutdown.
At the start of the year. So I found a picture earlier today on the socials that I think encapsulates Hakeem Jeffries for me. Let me know if you guys can see. Is it going to focus? Let's turn
It's
this.
mostly a white background too. Come on,
Oh,
Cal.
don't worry. Don't worry. Let me see.
Oh, oh
Yeah, I saw
no.
that. I am not going to explain it. You gotta see it. I'm not explaining that.
No,
I refuse.
watch the video, y'all.
Yep. I'm
I
not
do
explaining
not.
that.
I don't like this because you're definitely right. Anytime that it's time to draw a line in the sand and move forward for the people and the greater interest in the country, the Democrats actively let people down. Actively let people down. Now, with that being said, the Republicans have consistently done dehumanizing shit that needs to be stand up to and checked. Period, point blank. Because y'all, I remember the Obama presidency. I remember how white people, Arab people, some Hispanic people, because I did grow up in Florida, so you're around just like a melting pot of everybody. They talked about that Obama family like they were fucking scum, dogs. They strung up puppets looking like Obama and everything else like that. Democrats didn't put a foot down and like squash that. They didn't cut that, like cut the head off the snake right then and there, get in front of it, deem this as hate speech.
It's
They
been
didn't do
10 years and we still make jokes about the tan suit. This man wore a tan suit one time
Yeah.
and they made it sound like this man was out here digging a grave in the Sahara. Like, what are we talking about?
exactly. So mind you, he's doing all this stuff. I talk about it often. That man was the Wilt Chamberlain of drone bombings, though. We're not we're not saying Obama was
Yeah,
perfect. He was
he
putting
wasn't
a
perfect,
Wilt
no.
Chamberlain there.
No president's perfect.
But
Just
again,
some are more perfect than others.
and mind you, the main loud person who was talking ill of Obama,
Is he even American? Why is his middle name Hussein? Pull his birth certificate.
this is what happens when you let a dumbass lead you somewhere. You're just going to dummy land with him. And y'all didn't check that shit. And you look up now, he's the fucking president. Mind you, he has more felonies than he probably has consenting sexual partners.
You know what's crazy? He's trying to force the DOJ to find something to
Damn,
overturn
don't look
him.
away. Don't look away. Because when you start to think about it,
I'm not. I'm moving right past that. I refuse.
So-
but real quick, that guy is actually trying to use the DOJ. I was reading I think it was an NPR article. He's trying to use the DOJ to overturn his own felony convictions. What are we doing?
yeah, and you saw he just
That's the thing.
they questioned him about this guy. He's been pardoning a bunch of criminals. Period. Shout out to I've said it before. I'll say it again. Shout out to the astrology girls. They called this shit last year. They were like, if Trump gets elected, this will be the era of the criminals because he's coming in with this is his house, his ninth house birth. I'm listening to that. I don't really get all that, but I do get what the implications are when you put a criminal in a seat of absolute power. I just watched Face Off the other day for the first time. John Travolta, Nicolas
Face
Cage.
off. That movie is 90s cheese gold, but
It's
continue.
a terrible movie when you look at it now, but it was like I see why this hit in that era. But literally, once Nicolas Cage got into John Travolta's body, he like took over. What was it? I think it was a counter-terrorist group, and he just was moving with impunity, just fucking shit up, killing people, breaking into houses, like everything. That's what happens. They asked him, "Hey, why did you pardon this guy who was like some type of cyber terrorist or something like that?" Whoop-de-whoop.
Oh, you talking
He's
about the guy who schemed people with Bitcoin?
Yeah,
and crypto?
he's like, I
yeah.
didn't even know who he was. I just
The Asian kid. Yeah.
you don't know.
You don't know who you're pardoning? Okay. Great plan.
What the fuck? I said it behind the scenes. I'll say it here because Jezo didn't see it. This is for refreshing my body tonight. This is for refreshing my mind in light of the state of the government. Because what do you mean a criminal is actively pardoning criminals and he can't even answer straight why he's doing it? Just, I don't know. Didn't even know the guy. Okay.
So I want to chime in really quick in regards to these 8 Democrats who decided to kind of flip over when it comes to the vote here. I am very disappointed with them. I'm not angry with them because I do understand the situation that they were put in. Either A, you continue this fight and fight for what's right, at the end of the day, which is what we're constantly asking them to do, in exchange for letting the Republican Party hold all these people who rely on all these different benefits hostage, and have them suffer. Or you give in on this one in hopes that, the Republican Party is going to be as a whole, a good actor when it comes to having a vote. Like, you don't have a good option there. It's either you're damned in one way, where you're not going to get an actual real vote, if there's even a vote at all, or you have basically what was happening with all the propaganda that was going out, where on different public websites they were going and saying, oh, hey, this is shut down because of the Democratic Party. This is shut down because of the Democratic Party, despite the fact that they had nothing to do with that at all. But that's neither here nor there. So you have the public now starting to get convinced that, hey, it's the Democrats' fault that right now we don't have money. Oh, hey, it's the Democrats' fault that the military isn't getting paid. It's the Democrats' fault that, oh, hey, my flight was delayed, or multiple flights were delayed, or, oh, hey, if anything happens in the meantime, then, oh, hey, it's because the Democrats stopped any of the funding. No matter what you choose, it's going to be bad. So I can see why they went with that choice. I don't agree with it, but I see why.
I still think that they're pussy for doing it because we're literally in an era where if you're disagreeing with the president or whatnot as an elected official, they will literally blow up your house. That's how bold this shit is. So you cowering to that shit, thinking, well, damn, if I not mocking you, mocking that their logic with that, because I'm sure that's how they looked at it. It's like, well, if we give them this, maybe we'll get something down the line. You're not. The man tore down a part of the goddamn White House and then threw a great Gatsby party in that bitch while the government was shut down and people were starving. You can't reason with fucking idiots like this. These people are.
So
Take
to
a
be
deep
fair,
breath.
there is one thing that I would say that they could have done that would have been a better move, considering there's a no-win situation here. And that is to go on record and say, all right, we are willing to go and do this short, hey, we'll go until January and then reconvene on this, only if you will agree to keep any of the things that are currently running, continuing to run, and get an extra stay on that. If we can agree on that, in the meantime, while we're deciding on that, then yes, let's go ahead with any of the other things that you wanted to go and push through. Because at least that would have bought them some time to reconvene again. And if the Republican Party said no, then at that point, then they can go to the people and say, hey, look, we have tried. We have tried to say, let's keep the status quo in the meantime while we figure our shit out. And they still refuse. In which case, now you have the people behind you on that one. Not that I'm going out here, let me be clear, I'm not going and telling all of America to go ahead and do a revolt. I'm not going and saying overthrow the government or anything of that nature. Let's be clear. But I'm just saying, if you want to play the game that they're playing, you got to play it right.
Jason, before you transition us out, because we have been.
Oh, I'm not transitioning. I need to give y'all additional information real quick to continue this conversation. We're not transitioning. We're right here. Standing on business right here. So, first things first, Devin. In a normal situation, you'd be correct. It's a lose-lose situation. The problem is, everything you said is exactly what happened over the last 2 weeks. And by every metric that we... Hold on. By every metric that we can track, the government, the overall sentiment from the people was actually on the side of the Democrats. The Democrats were actually winning this situation. Go ahead, check all the reports now. Most center reporting, so scratch out Fox News, etc. Most center reporting shows that most people were actually agree with the Democrats. They understood that the shutdown is bad. No one's saying it's not bad. They understand people suck. But when people are like, should we be losing our health care for this? And the people are like, no, we can do both. People were on the side of the Democrats. The Democrats were actually using the one move they had and actually had the leverage. Every major report in this situation is called, they've basically been using the same term. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They were winning this fight. Third, which is a very key point to this conversation, we're going to get into it. I know you got thoughts on this. All 8 Democrats, conveniently, all 8 Democrats that agreed to go onto this vote are the very ones that can't be primaried because they're leaving officially government. They're all leaving. They've all been on record saying that we're not going to be, when they're up for their term, they're not going to be campaigning or trying to be reelected. Like 3 of them are retiring. 4 of them have like health issues or something. But these are all Democrats that are on record saying we're not coming back. So it's convenient, which has made a lot of suspicion where people are just like, why is it like, if it was like 2, 3, maybe even 4 of them, people might have been like, give them a little side eye, but like whatever. And it's like 4 other random people, but specifically it's all 8 Democrats that everyone knows that are not trying to get reelected on this vote. It's suspect. That's the third. That's the third thing.
I'd argue against that for that point, but I'll let you go in there.
Well, because the common thought is that because these 8 know that they're not going to be challenged for their seat when they try to get reelected, they can go on record saying yes to this vote and trying to save face and we're trying to help people, because the fact that they know no one's going to challenge them on that decision when it comes to be reelected. So, for example, let's say it was Jasmine Crockett was one of them, right? And she was like, yes, I'm trying to help people. We need to end the shutdown, right? Let's say she was one of the 8 that went on record. For the record, she is not. But let's just say she is, right? When her seat comes up around in 2030 or 2028, whatever it is, right? Someone from the Democratic Party could challenge her and be like, y'all remember back then when she screwed y'all out of healthcare? It becomes a weapon against her. But because those other 8 aren't getting reelected, or they're not going for reelection, there's no argument there. So whoever comes up next, they have not necessarily easier, but they're not getting primaried, which also means their seniority in the House is not being challenged. It's all the minutia of these things are becoming suspect. I don't know if I believe all of it, but it's becoming a factor that's taking up a lot of propaganda headway now. So these are all little nuggets to think about.
And while I do completely understand that there, I think the other side of that there is the case. So they, as you said, they don't have the opportunity to go in for the primary. They're not running for the seat again. They're either retiring or what have you there. They have no skin in the game. They have no reason to go and say like, oh, hey, let me go ahead and do the thing that is going to show me in the best light, in history. They're looking at potentially what is the situation at this moment here. If anything, they might potentially have the most unbiased opinion on that. Depending, I'm not necessarily defending them or saying that that is the case, but they don't have a reason to go and say, oh, hey, I'm only doing this because I'm trying to get reelected. They don't necessarily have anything going and saying like, oh, hey, well, I'm trying to get in Trump's favor, so then that way when I do run again and I'm in office again, then, he'll treat me better or anything of that nature. It is purely, okay, here is the situation.
Yeah, so this is where I have to push back, because the premise of what you're saying on its face is correct. The problem is, again, I would have to pull up the detailed reporting, but like it's already been broken down by any even medium, like, let me put it this way. Jon Stewart of The Daily Show already broke the fallacy and pulled all their records for all 8 of the people. They were part of the people that were on record in the reverse, not even weeks ago. So like they're definitely something shady there. It's politics, so I'm not going to say it's definitely this or that, but it's shady enough to be like, y'all broke the line for the wrong reason. It's almost like your union going on strike, and then 8 people decide to break the strike and become scabs, and it sounds good on its face, but then you find out there were like secret, insiders for the actual company. Like it's shady enough to look like that, and that's the problem. It's one thing, and the reason why it's all shady like that is because it's all happening under Schumer. We're gonna talk about Schumer a little bit real quick under this real quick. The problem is, let me put it this way: if Schumer was one of the 8, the suspicion wouldn't really be there. But because he's not, him and Jeffries are not, and they're quote unquote holding the line, it actually has had the reverse effect that it's made the whole thing look shady. And that's part of the problem here. The Democrats, when they need to be, unfortunately, the Republicans are so brainwashed that if one of them holds the line, they all hold the line for the most part. And because the Democrats aren't acting in a similar mentality, not the same fashion, but with a similar mentality, anytime someone breaks a chain, it looks wrong. And this is, going to Cal's point, the problem with the government, the party. They don't stand on their morals as a whole, which makes them look weak whenever something like this happens, and they lose the trust every time it happens, and it just looks worse, which always makes it shady. Go ahead, Cal.
So my thing, what I was gonna say beforehand, when it came to Devin having like working out his thought experiment with how to engage, like tactfully engage, and like tactfully concede or whatnot. My thing is, no, you always have to put pressure on ignorance because they will fuck up. Period. Across the board. Again, I'm gonna reference it at least one every 4 episodes. But when we saw with Kendrick and Drake, he sat back. Kendrick was like, I don't want to be on the song. I know some shit about you that you don't want the world to know. If you keep playing with me, I'm gonna step on you. And Drake kept on, oh, let's do duck faces and da 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 da. And then when he started, Kendrick didn't stop. He was dropping, oh, you got a new song? That's cute. Here's mine. That's cute. Here's mine. That's cute. Here's mine. Here's the song of the year that I'm going to perform at the Super Bowl, calling you a pedophile. And then, of course, that breaks up. Like, that's a slap in the face to a stupid person. We talked about it with the Mark Lamont Hill and Queen's Flip thing. Once you push that, tap that fish glass on them, they don't know what to do. And they're going to crumble under pressure. Case in point, when RFK was running around here trying to push that narrative Tylenol causes autism, and everybody who knew shit about medicine was like, don't do that. That's dumb. We've looked into it. They're going to sue you. Can't stop me. I'm going to do what the fuck I want. Sure enough, he did. Sure enough, Tylenol was like, hey, we're suing you. This is defamation on the highest stage. Now, this week, he's like, I was wrong. Because he's seeing that they're pushing that line. Like, no, we're taking you to court. And this is what I said is going to happen. Said a couple episodes ago where I was like, y'all are going to be so cooked by the damage you were doing to your brand after the administration. You're not even going to be able to financially, flexibly move around anymore. Because people are going to associate your name with bullshit. Lies, propaganda, racism, sexism, xenophobe. That's what your brand is going to be. So to the pussy ass senators who sold us up Schitt's Creek because you think you're getting out free, bitch, we're coming for you too. You're getting lawsuits as well. Because again, y'all took motherfucking oaths. We can hold the politicians in account. We have to hold them to a different standard than we hold entertainers or athletes to. We can allow Antonio Brown to hand out Cracker of the Year shit or White Person of the Month, whatever he fucking does. I don't care. The boy got CTE. We all know he got CTE. I don't care about Jameis Winston doing ads with the lobster boil people making fun of himself, like stealing crabs when he was in Tallahassee. I don't care about that. That boy also got CTE, and he's an athlete. Don't care what he does. But when you're in a position of power in this country, you get held to a different standard, and y'all are fucking deplorable and repugnant, and your shit will be documented in history as you were a feckless bitch when it mattered most.
So I will go and say, with some of the examples that you brought up, yes, you should continue to put pressure on ignorance there. Absolutely. Ooh. That is the normal move. That is the go-to. However, when you're in a situation where your opponent is also holding essentially a gun to the heads of millions of people,
Yeah.
All of a sudden the game changes. Yes, you can go and put pressure to a certain point, but if the potential victim is not willing to go and fight for themselves and everything, they're still kind of up in the air because, again, we've got enough people who are like either on the fence or, like, oh, hey, Republicans are in the right. We're going to definitely benefit out of this, despite the fact that there's no proof saying otherwise, but not here nor there. But if the people as a whole aren't trying to struggle to get themselves out of it,
Yeah.
that's a problem there. You've now kind of changed the math there. You have to kind of go and play the game a little bit. Not to the point where you just give up on everything. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form, but the normal means of just saying, okay, well, we got to keep the pressure up, regardless of the circumstances, doesn't necessarily work. Because then you have people who are going to be irreparably damaged by the effects of what's happening right now.
I agree. And it shouldn't have gotten this far. And this was seeing this administration, like, again, like when I say this, I mean in the most ass backwards, uncool way, get steam and get back into the White House was like, and people just playing. People were playing during Biden's shit. Just nobody taking anything serious. Nobody's like, again, this is what I always say. For third party candidates to be taken serious, you have to be busting your ass in the off years to establish a brand, lay down your principles, build up your grassroots like not fans but voters, supporters. You have to be out here
Sauron. Excuse me.
busting your ass. And y'all motherfuckers fought against Zoran more than you fought against Trump. My bad. My bad.
And he still washed Cuomo.
Bitch ass. Cuomo been a bitch for a decade. My bad. My bad. My bad. This is, y'all had to do that, and y'all did not do the work during the Biden administration. It was like the first, like episode 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars, where episode 1 they're just arrogant. We fucking working with the government, bitch. We international, not internet, interplanetary fucking wizard samurais. Look at our coats, bitch. You ain't got no coat like this. I got a sword that lights up at night, bitch. Yeah, I'm cool. Meanwhile, Palpatine was just sitting here for years, just bing, 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 and then he got his emotional support slave boy, and that was the last bingo. He is an emotionally.
We're not getting into that. That's not the point of today's episode.
But
so I do.
Y'all allowed evil to sit, marinate, concoct, build up their supporters, their fan base, because they got motherfuckers buying Trump Bibles, which is inherently blasphemy. Like, that's super duper blasphemy. But okay, they have them committed to that shit, lock and step. And now y'all are out here scrambling. Should we concede? Should we not concede? Well, if we concede, how do we do it? If we do this, now y'all are like buying into this. What was it? That Zoran is a fucking, what do they call him? Like a social.
They called him a communist, a Marxist, everything but what he actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then y'all got mad when y'all saw him, because again, he is going for a position of arguably one of the most important cities in the world. In the world, mind you. Like, it's New York, LA, you got like Dubai, Moscow,
Singapore.
Beijing. Like, he's up there. So he has his own faith, which he is a Muslim, but yet and still, he saw the value in people beyond his fold. And he was at the LGBT parade and walking, and people were like, look at him out there being a Muslim that supports the... Just because it's his shit doesn't mean he's trying to force it on you. Everybody's shit isn't Christianity, fuck nigga. You can love people and still maintain your values. You know that, right? Cool. Y'all
It
still
should
have
be part of your values, but
that's what But again, y'all have lost the plot. When this shit turns over again, and we get extremely ageist with this political shit, to where if you're above a certain age, we do not take you seriously as a political candidate. When this happens, it's because of you motherfuckers. Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, y'all goofy motherfuckers. Y'all motherfuckers let Sarah Palin run as a vice president back in the day. Just the bar isn't... I am tired. Y'all let Mitch McConnell pass out everywhere. Take that old nigga home. Take that old nigga. They have the guy who's my bad, because it's not my brain turn about all the old people doing fuck shit in this administration. They have the guy who's over Ozempic, didn't have a fucking heart attack in the Oval Office, and he passed out while Trump was asleep in the chair.
He was actually standing, looking at the camera, completely ignoring the fact that the guy just had a heart attack.
Yeah,
That's actually what happened.
RFK ran out that bitch like an assassination attempt happened. He didn't even follow fucking safety protocol. He said, "Move." I mean,
You would think the surgeon, the leader of the top medical institution of the government, would know some medical stuff.
Something. Check his vitals. Like, y'all, and then y'all. Lastly, I'm sorry, like, y'all brought motherfucking Dr. Oz to the White House and let him talk about health shit. But in my black ass brain, I forgot that y'all thought that Dr. Phil was actually a doctor. So that's my fault for thinking that y'all could decipher.
At the bare lowest in hell minimum. So we're still at like 6th level of hell. Dr. Oz is a doctor. He's the only one that's actually certified in there. Now, that's the worst level of hell we got. Go ahead, Deb.
So I will go and say, with everything that was just said there, everything that I've said, everything that you said there, John, I need people, audience. I'm looking at you right here in the camera. I'm looking at you right now. Please remember all of this when it comes to the midterms. Remember the fact that the entire Republican Party was holding you all hostage just to go and get a point across. They held a gun to your head and said, "Oh, hey, either do what we say or else everyone's going to suffer." Remember that when you go to the polls, because those are the people who you are voting for when you go and vote Republican or anything. The way it is right now, because I will go and say that there could be a time that there might be a sane Republican that might eventually get into, a seat sometime down the line. But as it stands right now, every single one of them was complicit in that. I need you to remember that when you go to vote.
Facts.
So,
and lastly, fuck Dick Cheney. May he rest in peace. But you know it's bad when the nigga who we all know is going to hell comes out and is like, "Hey, that nigga over there, that nigga's off. Did you shoot somebody, Dick? Did you kill like 1 million people overseas?" But you're saying this guy, we investigate this nigga. This nigga, fuck Dick Cheney.
So
but he was right.
To wrap things up here, a couple points across. Yeah, including that. I wasn't going to talk about that guy. I don't talk about, I don't talk about people that ain't worth my time. Again, I think to start off my conclusion of this part of the conversation, I'm going to quote the great comedian philosopher Dave Chappelle. Modern problems require modern solutions. Unfortunately, again, if this had been 10, 15 years ago, Devin, I would be 100% on board what you're saying. But I don't even think we're playing the same game anymore. And that's my fundamental problem.
I would argue that this never would have happened 10 to 15 years ago. We'd never be in this kind of level of insanity 10 to 15 years ago.
We were bordering there because we did have one or two shutdowns.
Not
We had a
2010.
shutdown during Obama, but not to this
We
level.
did, but not
It was
to this level.
Yeah, not to
Well,
this.
we had,
shutdowns in the
my
past.
point, yes, my point is, literally, it is modern times. Basically, we have had a shutdown ever since, from Clinton up to presidents. We've had at least one shutdown, a freaking presidential problem. If y'all don't see a problem with that, with the exception of Bush Jr., I think he's the only one that didn't have a shutdown. Every president since Clinton has had a shutdown under their watch. And someone broke it down. I think it was The Daily Show. It was all during a Republican Congress. I'm going to leave that with y'all. My whole point is we're not playing the same game anymore. And these Democrats, again, I do not agree with all the tactics, but they got to get onto some modern ways of fighting, because the same nonsense is why Chuck Schumer needs to go, why Hakeem Jeffrey needs to go. They keep trying to fight like this is 1832 or something. No, they're not playing with the same moral playbook. You have to have clear, concise, 100% agreement and be like, even Michelle Obama on her own podcast, she's like, look, because everyone loves to talk about how she was like, oh, when they go low, we go high. Even she's like, it was she was talking to Matt Barnes in Stack.
Oh,
Yeah, she was on their podcast, and they're like, "Do we still gotta go high?" And she's like, "Not in this current times. I'm gonna take that one back." She, out of her own mouth, Michelle Obama, the queen of nah, we need to have good morals, said, "Nah, we can't do this no more until things get back to normal some way somehow." Like we're getting to a point where if you can't slap the Republican Party with their own morals to their own people, they don't see it, and again, I hate it. I wish we lived in a civil society where we could agree on the basics and then how we fix the basics is the issue. But we can't even agree on the actual issue of the problem. We can't even agree on what's wrong no more. We got people fighting against people helping people get food.
yeah.
How is this even a conversation? The conversation is how do we properly get them food? How do we make sure that people are using this money properly? Not the whole, nah, take it all away.
To
Like,
which
this is-
I agree on that point.
Yeah, so like,
But I don't think
hate it.
I don't think just a hey, let's just dig our heels into the ground regardless of the situation is an effective approach when you have so many people also being affected by it. Right. We're talking about people's lives at stake.
So
That's where I'm like, we kind of have a problem.
To be fair, with 10 years ago, if 15 years ago, I'm sorry, there was an influx of people who were like workshopping within think tanks, how to combat not only homelessness but essentially starvation in the country because people were essentially like, "Hey, y'all are telling us this is a first world country, but y'all don't even give a damn about the veterans. Y'all say women shouldn't get abortions because the fetus isn't a baby, which is a human life. You shouldn't be able to do that. But when the baby gets here, you want to strip away the rights. You want to fuck up like school lunches. You want to make it harder for them to get an education. You want to redline them to all hell, prison to pipeline them to da 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 da. Right? Because at that time, people were conservationists and environmentalists were looking at how much food mega corporations. So when they do the studies, they're not studying household by household. They're doing corporations, the Walmarts, the Dunkin' Donuts, the Wendy's, Publix, Kroger. They were saying we throw away millions in food every day. Every day. There should be a way to safely feed people to make sure that like you're not accidentally like giving somebody something that they're allergic to. You don't want to give somebody like spoiled milk to try and cook with. That can create something, blah, 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 blah. But people kicked that in the ass and was like, oh, that's just a pipe dream, blah, blah, blah. And people were like, oh, no, not really. It takes a couple of $1,000,000. Like a good 70, at the time, I think it was like 75, $80 million to just knock out starvation. People were like, fuck no. There was also in the UN, not at the same time, there was also a vote amongst all of the present and representing countries where they were trying to do away with hunger. Period. You know the only two countries who said no to that shit? The United States and Israel. Everybody else was like, yeah, we should have guaranteed health care for everybody. And those two, ironically enough, are still in this situation. Israel, not so much because we keep them alive, because they're our satellite in the Middle East, because we have shit relationships with everybody else. Like they have,
and Israel has universal health care, so that's not even true no more. So
yeah,
kick
so
that in the ass.
they're insulated by us. And again, that gets into the whole Mossad Epstein thing. We're not going down that hill. But it's very interesting how people are so comfortable throwing around large numbers when it's like what Tupac said, you got money for war but no money to feed the poor type stuff. Like you're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars just allocated to military contracts, military research. How can we build the biggest dick to ever dick in the sky? Like just stupid shit. And kids are now like you have kids who are choosing. They have to make the choice. Do I want to go to school, be hungry and unproductive, or do I want to go out and find a way to make money so I can eat? Fifth graders having to wrestle with this and contend with this fact because years and years y'all have allowed this shit to go. I think this is disgusting. I'm gonna stop talking because I'm making myself hot right now thinking about this shit. But
Hey man, beat that cold wave. But no, look, my point is this. And it's something we seem to bring up every episode, regardless of the topic and the vibe we're going with. You can't argue or fight on the same level with people that don't argue and fight are the wrong words. You can't have a true debate with someone who doesn't debate in good faith. Right now, that is the Republican Party. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The way you describe it, Devin, and again, I hope for a better utopia. I hope that like 20 years, the magical uprising from the aliens that they believe in come down and wipe all this nonsense and say, hey, humanity, sit your ass down. Like, in this magical utopia, I wish we could just sit down and be like, look, this is the actual issue. Let's talk about how we fix it. But when the other side wants to act like the issue doesn't exist, or, you know, the fault is that, hey, it's this random Mexican taking your job, when really the tax dollars you pay to make sure we're all good are getting slowly taken away and given to Elon Musk to make him a trillionaire. Like, these are the fundamental problems. Like, we're not this is not an argument in good faith. I wish, but right now the way this works, you can't. And again, I hate that there are people stuck in the middle. That's why I took the time, broke it down. I said I don't wish this on anybody. 100%. Two of our best friends, Devin, work for the government. Trust me, I understand. I'm 100% with you. There's so many people caught in the crossfire, but that argument is the same argument that Charlemagne the God made. And if he's making the same argument, there's a fundamental flaw in the argument. And again, I'm not comparing you to him. I'm just saying it's the same level of the argument. Watch the and again, I don't watch them no more because Charlemagne's a dickhead. But the last episode of The Breakfast Club where Mehdi was on, he breaks down why it doesn't work. If we were dealing with even the Republican Party of, let's just call it early Obama, late Bush, even if we were dealing with that Republican Party where it looks like you could actually have a conversation, if you still had, and he can actually get a God rest the dead, who'd Obama go up against the first time? McCain. If you still had McCain and you still had the guy he went up against the second time, and that was the whole party, and that was we could have a conversation because there's actually a conversation to be had. They actually care about people. Freaking Utah has one of the best in terms of like government assistance programs as a state because that guy actually borrowed socialism and said, look, our tax dollars help us. We're going to support ours and make us rich. Now, it doesn't help that a bunch of Utahnians are like 98% white and they all have guns and stuff. Charlie Kirk. But, you know, it's just one of the things where it's like, my problem is we don't have a baseline for good faith. And until we have that, you can't use regular good faith tactics. It's like walking up to a tank trying to fight it with a knife. Again.
And that's where I disagree, because I do feel that what actually ended up happening was that they were trying to act in good faith and everything with the whole, oh, hey, we're getting a promise that they're going, wait, hear me out.
The Republicans are acting in good faith right now?
No, hear me out.
That's what I'm talking about.
No.
Good faith. They already lied.
Can I finish my sentence really quick?
Go ahead.
Let me be clear. The Democrats who voted yes and everything thought that things were going to be in good faith, that the Republican side is going to actually do that vote in January. That is normal politics. That's the, 10, 15 years ago type of politics and everything that we're working with, which that I don't necessarily agree with. What I am saying is that doing the opposite, which is just, oh, hey, you know what? We're just not going to meet one side or the other at all and just wait it out, is also not effective because of what's at stake. And this is something that I brought up earlier. They could have put up an agreement where, hey, if you are willing to at least meet us at the point of keeping the status quo until January, then we can go ahead and end this. And if they didn't accept that at that point, that's when they can use the people at that point. That's when they can go to the people and say, look, your leadership, the people that you voted for, that you wanted them to go and act in your best interest are no longer doing that. And you know what? I'm going to kind of take away the guardrail that I was kind of trying to put up before. That's when you can go and get the people to riot. That's when you can get the people to get fired up and actually oust them out and everything, if you want to go that route. If you want to go and play at the lower levels that they want to go and play with, that's when you get into that. I'm not going and saying, oh, hey, give up grounds all the time. What I'm saying is you need to play it right. Because then you
So-
have the people backing you fully.
Yeah, you have the leverage. You have the
Yes,
So
you
here's
have to
the-
have the leverage.
So here's the thing, and I think this is where I think part of the conversation is getting missed, and we are going to move on, but I think it's where part of the conversation is getting missed. And again, we have to double check all of our sources, but part of what you said already happened, and that's kind of where I'm getting confused. Major, and I'm talking about Major, even when they first agreed to do this, heck, Chuck Schumer is the weakest, probably Democratic minority leader we've had in my natural born lifetime. No ifs, ands, hard stops. Nancy Pelosi was better, and that's the lowest of low bars. So let me just put it that way real quick. The fact of the matter is that man has already said it multiple times from the beginning throughout the shutdown that this is what we want to continue this. We are not going to, unless these are guaranteed, we're not holding a vote. That was said from the minority leader multiple times throughout this whole shutdown. So that's one right there, Devin. Like, it already happened. That this was the stipulation. He made multiple announcements to the people. Heck, this man's even butchering TikTok and YouTube saying the same thing. It's part of his window dressing because old people think just turning on social media and technology just works. But that's another conversation for idiocy another day. Like, the words that have actually come out of his mouth basically mirror what you just said. Secondly,
and I will say that no, that's not the case. Because originally they were asking to negotiate. I'm not saying negotiating anymore. This is either we are keeping the status quo at that point and then redeciding on that one, in which case we can negotiate the details, which is what they were asking for during that. Or we're going the full scorched earth method here. And that's not what's happening there.
Yeah, they didn't
that's
present that other side. Like
So-
that in Simpson.
I was getting
Right.
to that. So, as we've gone through this shutdown, by roughly on 2025 mark, we've known what the issue is this whole time.
Right.
To the point, again, even regardless of what polling data source you want to find, it's been on record multiple times for like the last 2 weeks now that they were winning the argument. Again, I hate that people had to be involved to begin with that. It sucks. It's the way our government is. I'm not even arguing that point anymore. Like, we've gotten past that point. People are suffering. We get it. But the point in the matter is, it's basically what Mehdi Hassan said to Charlemagne for that conversation. We knew what was actually happening. Everyone, even people from Kentucky, Arkansas, when it came to Zoran's campaign, knew exactly what he stood for, to the point where propaganda wasn't working, because he said the same thing repeatedly. We were at the point where the Democrats were turning that corner to the point where everyone knew what they actually stood for. They literally had the leverage for this particular situation. I'm not saying this is the same strategy you can use every time. I'm literally speaking about what's happened over the last 40 days. They were literally winning the argument. So the fact that 8 of them capitulated down to what you said to have the conversation and to hold the vote, they didn't even guarantee it. They argued to have the vote, and if the vote doesn't happen, to which the Speaker of the House...
And we know it's not going to.
Yeah, he's already said, ha, we won, it's not happening. Like, the fact of the matter is, it's naive to thought that anything these people have done over the 9 months is going to lead to a good faith argument. That's my issue. Like, again, I get it. People suffering, it sucks. To believe that they were going to come to the table at this point in gesture, now when you basically turned the fire from low to medium low, we're not even at medium heat yet. Like, again, I hate to put it that way because people are suffering. But the problem is, the fire was not, this was not a people knocking down Republican doors fire yet. And that's the issue. The Democrats acted as if the heat was under them when literally, like, all they did was turn on a heater. Like, no, like, it's getting to the point now where it's like, when, this is going to be my final thing on this situation. The fire was not cranked up on them. Again, It sucks because we're talking about people. I do not want to sound like I'm being callous here, but they gave up. These 8 Democrats, regardless of how shady it looks, regardless of whether you believe they did it because they know they're not running, regardless of any of the situation, they gave up. And the leader of the party was not strong enough to hold them together, being like, look, I understand your people are suffering, but we're fighting for a greater good. It's like telling Mahatma Gandhi, all right, you can leave your hunger strike now, but we promise we're going to talk about freeing your people. Like, it's icky. It's gross.
And that's where I feel that, and this kind of leads into the conversation about Chuck Schumer. This is where he could have stepped in as a strong leader and said, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Here's how we're going to play this. And that's the suggestion that I put up is what I would have expected from Chuck Schumer. Because that would have been a middle ground there. That would have still kept everyone in line, on the Democratic Party. Because we're still going and saying like, oh, hey, look, this is our final thing right here. This is the ultimatum. This isn't a negotiating point. This is an ultimatum. Meet us at this point. We'll go ahead and move on right there. And then we will have this, conversation later in regards to any changes. He did not do that. And I will agree that Chuck Schumer as a leader was weak because of that. But that's kind of moving on and everything to the next point there, because I know you wanted to talk about that.
I mean, that's all I gotta say. Like, that man needs to get the fuck out of here. Him and Hakeem Jeffrey need to both get primaried out the wazoo. And then for the next, I don't know how many years it takes to fix this country, but we can't have any centrist. If you ain't progressive, get out my party. Like, this is the point where, like, now we're literally seeing that these people that are too willing to play the center lines to the point where they get nothing, it's not helping the people at this point. We're losing everything. I'm just waiting for the moment where they're going to say, all right, all healthcare is privatized again. Like, Obamacare, what's Obamacare? Trying to help people? We don't do that here in America. You want subsidies? Nah, subsidies goes to big oil. Your tax dollars? Nah, you don't need none of that back. In fact, what's a tax return? Like, I'm literally like, we're just anything that helps people is getting slowly cut, and it's like, where is it's like exactly where's the buck stop? Like, it's like what I like talking about when it's stories. I hate when every story makes the villain have a tragic backstory to make them relatable, because sometimes you just need to be able to look evil in the face and say, that's evil, that's wrong, I don't care what your backstory is, if you have one at all. Like, we're losing the ability to just call something wrong, stand on it, and let it know it be wrong. Like, that's what I'm getting from this whole situation. Yes, and I'm going to repeat this for the millionth time this episode. I understand people suffering. I don't want it on anybody. But at what point do we say enough's enough? That's where I'm leaving that part of the conversation. And no, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries need to go, because these guys are too buddy, I want my power. I don't give a crap if we actually help people. I just want to make it sound like window dressing. We're taking 8 steps back and 1 step forward every time something like this comes up. At what point do we freaking get Jim Crow and redlining and all this crap back? Like, look at it. Like, this is... I'm going to move on, because I almost went to a whole spiel about how people are talking crap about California, who made a vote to do a temporary redistricting, talking about, oh, this is not the same as Texas. Well, no shit. The people had a choice. And they said, yeah, nah, we don't like what Texas did, so go ahead. They actually had a choice in the matter. Where Texas was just like, nah, give me my red Sharpie. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to argue or fight with people that don't actually want to have a real conversation. So therefore, there's no point in having it. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave that. And we're actually going to talk some literacy. Similar vein, but, we had to spend an hour talking about this because this is awesome BS. And we don't do BS here. We are the no BS con. We don't do that. So, how do you flex that muscle to see beyond the beyond, as Kakashi likes to say? Or how do you see past the BS? I'm gonna throw a question up to y'all and get your thoughts. You haven't had anything to say in a while, Cal, which is unusual. You start us off here, buddy.
Yeah, I was getting pissed. I had to calm down.
He's like, I need to calm down.
Let's see. Um, I think the way to strengthen that is, like you said, like check your sources, do your own work, look into stories. Um, that's like on a news thing. Um, I
Enter
often,
ground news endorsement here. We don't have one. I'm just
we,
playing.
yeah, we don't have one yet.
One day in the cards, maybe.
So my thing is whatever you're passionate about, dive headfirst into that. So like for instance, mine was like music and rapping and things like that. So like I would ingratiate myself early on, like as a kid, pulling up old interviews, like vintage interviews. Listening to old music. Like I listen to so much music, like up to up to date, like starting at the earliest part of your genre to see where the fundamentals and everything came from because typically all like music is very fluid. So like rap is like a combination of like jazz, soul, gospel, obviously the spoken word poetry and things like that. Then you look at how do you rap well? Typically, it needs to be coming from like an educated, cultured person. Not saying like you got to go to college, but like know what you know and give us you knowing that. You see what I'm saying? So like started out
Also
with
important to know what you don't know.
yeah,
Mhm.
like so me that looked like me diving headfirst into people like KRS-One's catalog as like a kid. Um, Going through that, like picking up that, learning the freestyles, that led me to rap battles. Then when I got back to listen to music, I was listening to like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Wu Tang, things like that. And then later on in my life, boom, like went back and looked retroactively at like gangster rap. Where did that come from? Boom, now I'm in the West Coast, just digging through crates, E40, all those guys. Obviously, Dr. Dre, back when he,
But still DRE.
yeah, like back
Mhm.
early, when he had hair still, a perm, a twist out perm to be exact, if I remember correctly.
Back when he was still with the streets.
That okay.
Sorry.
So I mean, and that is how that's how I learned to like flex that. And then like me just being a history person, that was fun because you go back and listen to some of these albums and then knowing history, like, oh, this is what was happening in their area. This is why they're rapping about this. The reason why I have always said it, like, fuck Cuomo, Cuomo's a bitch. I was listening to like, by the time I was listening to 90s rappers, like late 80s, 90s rappers, they were like, fuck Cuomo. That's how I got introduced to him, was through rap. And I was like, oh, who's Cuomo? Looked it up, boom, that segues you into politics. How did he get there? What has he done since he's been there? And that, like, you see what I'm saying? So if you start with your passion, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like you're just exploring your passion. Um, and also my other take would be watch people have debates and things like that about things
Real
that you care
ones.
about. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I
To
would look
anyone out there, listen to the way Mehdi Hassan tears people apart. That has been my revelation for the last 2 years. That's kept me sane. Just seeing this man meticulously tear people apart with facts and logic.
mm,
Chef's kiss.
and like it was easy for me to like naturally transition into like the debate well how I transitioned into debate content wasn't as formal because I started off listening to like hip hop historians and people who would like do the work that I was doing, but they have like degrees in actual studying history actively. And that led me to like Michael Eric Dyson. And I was like dope at the time. Like I was in college learning about Michael Eric Dyson before I knew he was a weirdo. Um, and looking at the way he broke down Tupac and everything else like that, and the studies he did, the interviews that he did, the symposiums he would engage at, um, yeah, stuff like that was like dope to me. And then obviously being black, being in my woke era, that's how I transitioned into like Sinetta Studios. So like black Hebrew Israelites debating debating ancient Kemetic scientists and things like that about like the veracity of their biblical claims and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool. It was much more informal, obviously. And every now and again, they'll step out of their academia and educated field and just call somebody a bitch ass nigga, which is a jump scare if you're passively listening. But it's like, oh, like this is engaging. Um, but yeah, I think always staying in an echo chamber isn't a way that you strengthen your muscle. Like you have to diversify your palette. I love lyrical rap just as much as I love gangster rap, just as much. So I'll listen to uh I don't know, listen to 50 Cent, Ice Cube. What's my man's name? Damn, what's my man's name?
I don't know. We got Nas, Lupe, we got
MF Doom, like yeah,
MF Doom.
Lupe Common. Uh, I'm trying to remember my man's from the Ghetto Boys. I'm not placing his name right now. Um, Damn. Yeah, and listening to just everything. And it's cool to see the contrast. Um, yeah, it just opens up a different world when you have a passion and you lead with your passion. So I would advise people to do that. Don't take the rough route. Don't try and redo the wheel. Start with what you know, what you love, what you care about, and just go. You'll be surprised how much you'll learn about the craft and yourself. So, yeah, that's mine.
So
So
how
kind
do you
of
look beyond the looking glass, Devin?
so for me, and this kind of jumps off a little bit off of what Cal was saying there. Uh, I find that looking into different beliefs and thought processes that are opposite of my own happens to help me grow in that aspect. So, looking to an opposite argument, something that I feel is completely wrong, and trying to find out, okay, well, why would someone think that this is correct? What are the arguing points that they bring up? Is this something that's actually incorrect? Am I the one who is incorrect in my thought process? Or on the other side, if they are completely wrong, what ways can I communicate and reach them and then bring them back over to a correct side of that argument there? Um, when it comes to politics, that is something that a lot of people are lacking right now. Everyone is all on one side or another side. They are not willing to really meet in the middle, particularly more so on the Republican side at this moment. But in order to understand them and get them to start trying to move over, at least the ones who are people who have a little bit more sense and are just misinformed at the moment, you need to have a better understanding of why they're misinformed. When it comes to reading, just in general, different books and so on and so forth, reading some of the classics and finding out where people or society as a whole has failed and learning from those mistakes and everything can help you kind of build up on that and have a better understanding of things that are happening in the future as well. So really, and that can also go into the music industry as well. I know, Cal, in your particular case, you have a particular specialty that I will never be able to go and meet ever. Uh, like, you know more than I will ever know, even if I tried. But I also know that you know your stuff because you've also listened to other music outside of the genres that you normally focus on. So you have a full appreciation of everything outside of that genre as well as things inside your genre. You have basically built that up because of that. And the same thing has to take place with any other interest or passion. You need to be able to understand things outside of your comfort zone in order to truly appreciate what you do actually care about.
I will
For
just real quick, Jason. The name that I was forgetting when I was talking about the rapper that I couldn't remember is Scarface. He is one of the best MCs, period, but he is for sure top three Southern, if you consider it third coast, like MCs ever. A master storyteller. Listen to the storytellers. Second and last thing, That's why that scene from Sinners was so like important to me. That like in the club where Sammy was playing and it like conjured up, you know what I'm saying? Where he went back to the monologue and summoned, speak to the ancestors and da 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 da. And you see as they went through the club, different genres, like everybody expressing their culture in their own healthy individual ways. And it was like this all has a place here. And I think that's dope because it does. It does.
For me, the way I look beyond the looking glass is twofold. One is understanding the time and place of whatever I'm digesting. And the other thing is trying to lead in, this is what I say it so often, trying to lead in good faith. So, for example, and if anyone who knows me knows I've been absorbing Asian media basically ever since I was a kid. I grew up in Flushing, Queens. If you go to Flushing, Queens now, it is basically Chinatown. I grew up in a culture where I was surrounded by those types of people. So because of that, I learned everything from anime to kung fu movies to Japanese music. I knew who Utada Hikaru was before Kingdom Hearts. So for all you people out there, she's from Brooklyn. So let's not get it twisted. No, she was signed to Def Jam at one point. I think it was Def Jam. Like, yeah, like literally, like
See, more to learn. I didn't know. I didn't know that.
yeah, like she is a New Yorker for the most part. Like she got dual citizenship there. But like my like understanding time and place is so key because to give an example, anytime you watch any of the Rush Hour movies now, they hit you with a blurb talking about this is from a different time and place, that, and the third. The fact that you have to give that disclaimer is a disservice to literacy. And that goes to any piece of media you consume. If you're watching something from the 80s or 90s and trying to judge it with the morals we have of today, you're doing a disservice to that said media. Because any piece of media from the time it is a snapshot of that time, and we should be learning from it. And if you have to get a disclaimer to even think about it, you're going about it wrong to begin with. Even if it's something funny like Eddie Murphy's Raw. If it goes on Comedy Central, they hit you with the blurb. Rush Hour, they hit you with the blurb. You take a little piece of media now, but, and this is where I get on my slight high horse, name a white movie where they've done that. Have they done that to Predator?
No.
And that movie, if you actually think about it, it's racist as hell.
They did it with the old Disney joints where they were being super duper racist, like bad racism. Like this shit isn't even entertaining. It's just y'all being racist. They did do it there. They have I'll have to go back and look, but there are like parts of media that I've watched from like the 70s and 80s to where they have just cut scenes from movies. They don't even hit you with the like, hey, shit was a little while back then. We were all doing coke. It's just nope. This 30 seconds cannot exist. Again, get your media in physical
If you can.
if you
If
can.
it's even possible.
Yeah,
To use a topic we all know and love for my to solidify time and place here, the original Star Wars trilogy. If you ever saw the originals, most of our generation probably hasn't. But if you've been so lucky to see any of the original content at all, you know that Han killed that dude in cold blood, even though we know he's a bounty hunter, and because Han Solo is seen as a protagonist, he's quote unquote a hero by the end of the movie. It just kind of washes away the fact that he just shot this man under the table. When technically that man was doing his job. He legally was like, yo, you owe debts. My job's to bring you in to pay your debts. That's basically a repo man coming to get your car because you didn't pay your car note.
And you
It
shoot-
sucks, but that's the law, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the point. And to further drive that home, Han, the beginning of this of episode 5, it starts with Han needs to leave them to go pay Jabba, and because he never leaves to go pay Jabba, he gets sealed up in carbonite. So because Darth Vader's like, I need to have Jabba's network, so here's Han Solo, so you guys stay in line. But This is understanding the media you actually watch. And by all means, you don't necessarily have to understand media the first time you watch it. You can just watch something for fun. Go for it. But if you ever dip your toe into analyzing something, one of the very first things you should do is understand time and place. Because if you understand the time and place of when something is written, created, or done, you understand the context of why it was made. The Mona Lisa, Tom Sawyer, Scarlet Letter, Star Wars, Star Trek. Doesn't matter. We understand the time and place these things happen. You understand the impact and what they're trying to tell you.
And I do think
This is all. Sorry, real quick. This is also why a show that's lasted super long. When we're talking like The Simpsons, there's some jokes that doesn't matter when they hit it because there's still the same issues we're dealing with. There are some jokes that don't hit no more because we've evolved past that. There are some jokes that get reinterpreted because of the time and place we live in now as compared to when it first started. Like, you see the evolution of things. And when you understand time and place and then have good morals to back it up, you actually understand what the author is getting across.
so. Again, before we get out of here, two things. Number one, I think that there is a line that people say that lets me know that they don't have literacy when it comes to consuming, period, like art, entertainment, news, when they say it's not that deep. Oh, you're one of those. You're an idiot. Because again, if you understand anything about layers, you want to talk about movies being totally restructured. What was the what was the Tom Cruise Eyes Wide Shut? Eyes Wide Shut. They changed that movie so much. There's literally, this is documented. You can go and look this up online. They have people talking about it in the interviews. Stanley Kubrick, I think that was his movie. I think he was the guy. But they had edited so much because he was apparently like hitting too close to home. That when they showed the premiere, like the private screening or whatever, he was screaming from the back of the theater, like, "What the fuck did you do to my film? Why did you cut so much out?" He was like unruly, so much so people had to like escort him out of there. But like again, when you say something like that, that shows me that you don't understand and that subtext is not your strong suit whatsoever. Um, so again, that's that's number one. And number two, to the individuals who are um, literacy trained, have things that they have passions in, they've walked down that path or taken any of the suggested routes that Jazo, Dev, or myself gave here today. Have grace for people who just don't know. Because again, to quote a philosopher, Samuel L. Jackson, there are known knowns and there are known unknowns.
Unknowns. Yep.
And then there are
Hmm.
unknown
Known
unknowns. Things
unknowns.
we don't
Yep.
know, we don't know. So have grace, you know what I'm saying? I can come off a little snobbish, especially when it comes to like battle rap things, because my brain processes rap stuff very quickly. So like if I hear somebody start a rhyme scheme, my brain is going through like deducing where is the punchline going to be. And I usually get it a lot, like because I've just consumed, I know what the zeitgeist is. Like if you're a creative, you'll be surprised how many times you think of something or do something that someone across the fucking world had the same thought, idea, pattern, because we're all pulling from a creative force. That's a, again, without getting too metaphysical and everything else like that. That's why I think just the act of observing art changes what the art does to people. Like that whole like observing protons and it changed just off the mere principle of it being observed, like that. Like the fact that you're there engaging with it changes it immediately. But again, I love this shit, so I can talk about this shit for hours. But that's my opinion.
That's why we built a whole podcast around it.
Oh,
Any final thoughts? Because I want to do a quick actual thought experiment and give some examples for translating to real life. Any final thoughts, Dev?
no. Actually, I like what you were saying there, kind of like, just to kind of Actually, yeah, to add one quick thing to it, uh, when it comes to creatives in general, we are all kind of working from the same general pool based off of our life experiences and so on and so forth. You're going to see that within a particular generation that a lot of people are thinking very similar things because of the experiences that they have, even across an ocean, just simply because of world events. We are now living in a world where we are more connected than we have ever been, so we're going to see that more often as well, in my opinion.
Back. So, like I said, let's apply this real quick. So, two of the examples I had written down, one's somewhat political, the other one is more music industry based. So, first we have Graham Plattner. He came on the fire for apparently tattooing over a Nazi tattoo he used to have on his chest. So, how does one interpret it? From what I saw, there's two different ways, at least from the zeitgeist that is social media. There could be third, fourth ways. But the two main ways I saw was one, this guy is a psyop, and he just tried to infiltrate the Democratic Party and basically screw them for life. Or this guy who went through a very stereotypical right wing coded upbringing, potentially, went to the army, worked for BlackRock, did such and such things, and then realized this whole thing is jacked up and turned a new leaf. How do you interpret that?
This is a blatant side thing because we are currently in this situation because we let Nazis off the hook and we let Confederates off the hook. Period. It's ironic that not only him, there are other people actively on the Republican side, people actively in the police force, people actively in the military, people in these high esteem joints who have Nazi iconography, either blatantly tattooed on them or they have some type of Nazi paraphernalia somewhere, some or the other. Again, this is a lot of Nazis when they were trying to jump ship after the war happened and everything else like that. A lot of them just came here because we needed that medical research, we needed the science research, things like that. So America was like, fuck it, let them in. Or they went to the place that we just sent $140 million to, which is Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically enough, when the Confederates lost the war, there was a good amount of Confederates who moved somewhere in South America and established their own city of just them being racist as shit to people. Period. And I think it still exists today. But no, that type of ideology is not so easily checked. No.
So this is why I asked the question, because at least, and I've looked at several at this point because I was a little iffy on this man too after I heard about that. Normally, my indication goes, nah, this man playing us. But when I started digging into his, basically his platform, his background, trying to find out, all right, which way is this man actually tripping? You know what I couldn't find? Proof of action.
Okay.
So that's kind of what's got me like, maybe this man is one of the few white people that, like, because think about it, not every white person to beat the slave trade, there were white people that realized this shit is fucked up. Like it's just an irrefutable fact. So like, it's possible that this man grew the fuck up and was like, hey, everything I learned throughout life was fucking wrong. It's about people. We need to help people. I need to fix this shit, and that's what spurred him to be a politician. Who the fuck knows? I'm not this man, and what I can't find is him being like, "I burned black people at the stake." I can't find like actual. It again, from what I was able to dig up of his life, was that it sounded like he was red pilled early. And then he went through the Matrix, took the blue pill, and was just like, okay, cool. Maybe I was fucking wrong. Like, it's looking that way. I'm not giving him this is where I'm giving him grace. I'm like, it seems like you grew up and figured out what was really important in life, and you're trying to make good on it by being a better politician. That's what it seems like. That's what now, using my more intellectual literacy mind, the caveat to me is I need your actions to back it up. If you get elected, if you do right, I need you. I'm gonna start checking your record and be like, okay, yeah, he was progressive. He's willing to save healthcare. Like, if anything goes back to leaning towards that some Nazi shit, not for him. You still with them.
Yeah, I get it. Before we let Devin, I just do not trust these motherfuckers. I do not trust former
And
Nazis.
given history, it's fair.
Yeah,
That's why it's like it's fair. That's what I'm saying. Because this is my train of hearing from this man. I heard his policies first, then I saw him. The scandal came out about the tattoo. I dug into it. I'm like, oh, you used to work for BlackRock. That's shady. But you also used to work for not BlackRock, but basically private equity. Pete Buttigieg. Like, one of my key tenets in this life is that in the year 2025, we as a society are too interconnected for everyone to be squeaky clean. 100% squeaky clean. Unfortunately, that's the way life is at this moment.
Yeah, we're in the internet.
We're in a because someone could be like, "Oh, you bought Chick-fil-A the other day. You hate gay people."
Bingo.
No, I just wanted some of the Lord's chicken. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, we live in a too interconnected society now for everyone to be 100% this. Like.
No, I get it. But my thing is like, I don't trust it because even look at Cheeto's dad. His dad was in the fucking Klan.
Again, this is why I don't disparage you for not trusting him.
Yeah.
But in this world we live in, you should have all the details. And then following up on that, if you're true literate, hold the people to task. This is fundamentally why we didn't get everything we probably could have gotten when we had Obama. We didn't hold them to task enough. Like, we were just happy that a black man had 2 terms in presidency, but no one held him to the, let's tax everyone who makes over 125K. The policies he actually hold them to task.
People in that could actually help him.
Yeah, support him. Like, if we were locked in as a society, he would have had more than just 2 years of having a Democratic Congress. He had 6 years of a Republican Congress, which the fact he got Obamacare through is shocking enough.
And I think,
and that was a bastardized Obamacare.
So I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say another person because I said Cheeto's dad was in the Klan, but obviously, when we look at impoverished areas and things like that in the United States, look at the places that are heavily receiving food stamps, the people that heavily depend on Obamacare, aka the ACA, they're red states. So I think at the time he was able to get it off because they're looking like, we got a bunch of poor white people who are unemployed. Period. And my thing is like, white people have been misusing these funds and everything. Because I had a thought the other day, Jay Zo and Dev, and this is my little thought experiment, okay? When you look at people on 600-pound life, statistically speaking, they are overwhelmingly in numbers white people. The fat person doesn't work ever, if you pay attention very closely. So you have one person working enough to supply 10 boxes of pizza for one meal. How are they getting this amount of money to get food? That much food on that consistent of a basis? It's SNAP. It was like everything in my brain clicked like ding, 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 ding. That makes sense. That makes much more sense than, they just, unless they're getting like, Social Security and things like that.
And don't forget WIC, but yeah.
Yeah, like stuff like that. But yeah, that was one. Number two, the other person who has like a weird racist past and black people brought it up, it flashed in front of your eyes and people ignored it. It was like, that's not going to come back and hurt us. That's just the blacks. Taylor Swift. She won an award for essentially like a Klan beauty pageant when she was a kid. And black people were like, that bitch comes from racist stock. Then she was dating underage boys. Let's just call it what it was. She was in her 20s dating people 17 and 18, like freshly 18, as the groomers like to say. She was doing that for years and years and years. And then this last album rollout that she did, which again, seeing like a Taylor Swift album that underperformed or wasn't talked about or blasted everywhere in like the public spaces, grocery stores, malls, you name it. It was like, what the fuck did she do? Like, what happened? In her rollout, the black women were talking about that some of the jewelry and things like that she was selling online looked like the Nazi lightning symbol. You know, the one that makes the SS. And they're like, this shit is Nazi iconography. The black people said it again, like, this bitch is racist. So much so the Jewish women looked into it, was like, oh no, we know what this is. Get this shit the fuck up out of here. Then the fans her white evangelical middle America fans came back and was like, fuck this album, fuck this rollout, and fuck you too. But again, y'all should have seen it coming from the jump. Like, I don't even know what's her face is. Not the good jeans girl, Sydney.
I was gonna bring her up, Sydney Sweeney.
I don't even know what her background is, but they're literally making her the face of intolerance.
I'll tell you what her background is. See that wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, that. I dug into it too. I did a lot of research over these last couple of weeks. Yeah, no, her family is red coated out the wazoo.
So that is crazy. And people are like, oh, look at you guys mad at this beautiful white princess, blah, 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 blah. And then black people, us being internet sleuths and everything else, black people pulled it up like, this bitch put out 5 movies and we didn't hear about any of them. And y'all didn't go see any of them. Y'all don't even support this bitch.
Yeah, her last movie, ironically, which was about a lesbian boxer, I think, completely tanked. It's so bad that Zendaya won't do red carpet appearances with her. Zendaya standing on business. She's like, I'm not doing any appearance that involves her for Euphoria. Because Euphoria Season 3 is coming out.
Yeah.
And people are hyped, but they're like... So...
That's the look.
Yeah, Devin, go ahead. Because I have more thoughts, but I wanted to start the conversation off this way. So go ahead, Devin.
So to go back to your original question there, I would have leaned a little bit more towards Cal on that one with, not necessarily trusting him, because there are a lot of people who, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because there are so many examples of people who they kind of read the general feel of the room and say, okay, let me just go with how everyone else is going. Let me kind of cover this up a little bit, Let me kind of take my own personal beliefs and cover that up just enough so then that way no one comes after me and everything. But given the opportunity, they're going to act in whatever way that they were raised and brought up and so on and so forth. That said, based off of what you said there, John, with this guy having a record of essentially kind of going in the right direction, I'd be open to him, making the argument that he has grown from his past. He might have had some type of situation that came up that caused him to kind of see things a little bit differently. And from that point, he kind of moved from there. That is possible. There are people that do that. And it's not often, but it does happen.
The rules of governor are you have to be, like, you have to live or were born and raised in the state that you represent, correct?
I believe it depends on the state, but most states you have to actually live in that state for a certain period of time. Like, he's running for governor of Maine, I think.
Yeah, so it's like, how did you fall into Nazism in fucking Maine? There's nothing up there. There's no.
No. Cal. As someone who lived in New York, people from Maine is very.
No. That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, there's not an overwhelming number of black people committed crime in the area to kind of like skew you to one side. There's not a shit ton of Middle Eastern people.
Let me rephrase it, Cal, and I hope this will crystallize it. Imagine Utah, but on the right side of the country. That's Maine.
So how did you? Yeah,
become so progressive. That's my point. Like, there's something like potentially more to this guy, which is why I'm like, I see you, but I'm watching you, kind of thing. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, the alarm's going off in the back of my head, but it's like I only lifted up one of my like 18 barriers to kind of see. I opened up the glass dome so I can see you coming from the distance, and then I'm gonna watch you how you act as you approach up. Like nothing else is coming down yet. Like it's one of those things where it's like, and this is where we have to, as a society, be like, I give grace and give people a chance to prove to be better. Now, if you take that chance and mess it up, all right, that's on you. Get them out of here.
Right.
But it's my. This is what I've learned from all my reading, all the stuff I love to enjoy, all the art I like to consume. I'm the type of person. I will give you one. You get one. You mess up that one, all right, I don't fuck with you no more. But you get one.
So I feel you. My thing is, with white people in this country, I definitely belong to the school of thought of Malcolm X, to where he was like, I don't have time to. I think it was either Malcolm X or Ali. I was doing research for a report on both of them, so both of their quotes kind of blur together in my brain. But he was essentially like, he was asked, "Do you think that all white people are evil?" And it was like, well, no, just like I don't believe all snakes are poisonous, but I don't have time to vet each snake per snake encounter to see. It's better to just out the gate. So my brain, that out the gate is the fact that you had a fucking Nazi tattoo and you lived in Maine. So
So
what drew you down the pipeline in Maine, and then what happened to bring you out of that pipeline in Maine? That's so it may be what you said, like proximity to New York, just seeing like diverse people come over or whatnot. But
going
like,
to fuck up, going to different places and realizing that people
yeah,
are just people. Like that's what I'm saying. And I believe that was Muhammad Ali when he was talking about finding out which snake is poisonous if I have a full of snakes. Yes. If you're looking at that, I compare that to statistical versus a scientific. Hear me out here. This is gonna be a long drawn out analogy. That's a statistical point. If 90% of something is down to happen, why am I going to trust a 10% good outcome? Fair enough, right? Scientifically, however, to get to that 90%, you have to be willing to test the 10%. And that's kind of my point in the analogy where I'm like, I understand it and my life experience deviates from it. And this is kind of where I'm getting at. My life experience, I have met quite a few white people that off rip you would think yeehaw gun toting boom boom BB gun riding my Range Rover, and then to find out they're some of the same people on the front lines trying to get people snapping stuff. Like that is my life experience.
that's
I
fair.
grew up in various parts of New York. I grew up in Florida. Some of the most hillbilly coded. I go out to the river with my canoe on Sundays with my Range Rover, actually, mudding and whatnot. Will be some of the same people rolling up to Tallahassee Main Hall same day. Like, why you messing with these black people? They didn't do nothing to y'all. Like, so, like, my life experience tells me everyone deserves the right to prove me wrong. That's kind of that's where I go to. I get it. We as black people, we can't trust very easily. And I'm not even saying to trust this man. I'm saying he has the chance to prove me wrong that I should trust him. If he fucks that up, all right, cool, you lost everything.
Yeah, I think him trying to, let's do the other side of the thought experiment.
Yeah.
So let's say he is Jake. Let's say it is as you say, right? He did some wild shit early on, came out of it, blah, blah, blah. My thing is, we're in a we're at critical mass right now in this country. If you're not white, you know this. We're at critical mass. These people are blatantly telling you to your face, we do not give a fuck about you. We do not give a fuck about your ancestors. We don't give a fuck about your grandparents, your great grandparents, or your fucking kids. We are stripping everything away from you possible. Period. We're dealing with this, right? And I will concede a little bit in what you were saying. Cause yeah, like, not saying I haven't met dope ass white people. One of my best friends since fucking elementary school is a white dude. met him in private school, but he was like one of those. He was just different. Like we kind of just clicked, right? I think it was probably because we were both undiagnosed autistic people, and we just we just liked the same things, and it just sunk up. But he always cool, one of the best people you could ever meet in your life, right? But for every one of him that I experienced, even at that school, 50 terrible fucking white people. Terrible. Not just, uh, I'm gonna ignore you because you're black. It's I'm going to actively fuck with you. Actively
So
try and harm
I'm going to not fight back, but I'm going to pose a question before I kick it to Devin.
you.
Are their actions and the way they live worth your humanity?
No, I don't feel like
That's my point.
I don't feel like I'm sacrificing my humanity by expecting people who've gone so far down as to where it's like you did some shit with the Klan. You're a immediate descendant of someone in the Klan. You got a Nazi tattoo. You attended Nazi rallies. You like did bomb threats to people because that also did happen in this past election for the states that were up for election. They were literally calling in bomb threats at polling stations because they knew you have to evacuate, search for the bomb, secure the facility before you allow. So they were trying to delay stuff. You see what I'm saying? This is in a time at a critical juncture to where the highest concentration of gangs is in the police force. That's also documented. Like,
Again, you're my whole thing is you're fundamentally making my point. But before I rebut, I'm gonna kick it to Devin because he's been waiting. I'm gonna kick it to Devin, but you're kind of making my point. Go
my
ahead,
bad
Devin.
there.
No, you're completely fine. Matter of fact, you were both making some really strong points there. To go back to that quote earlier, when it comes to looking at a snake and trying to determine if it's poisonous or not, or venomous rather, or not, and you don't have that time to be able to do so. I think that there is a bit of a middle ground there. Uh, in cases where what we're dealing with right now, yes, you should be cautious about things. You should have like some distance away from things to then be able to go and determine whether it's safe or not. Um, as someone who back in high school used to have a biology teacher who allowed me to go and work with some of the animals that he had in the classroom, including snakes. One actually being venomous, one actually being a constrictor itself, like one of the big, large, banana yellow ones. Um, and I got a chance to see them from a distance when they're in a cage, in a tank, so on and so forth, and then learn different things about them, and then eventually kind of get to the point to go and say, okay, well, this is safe, this is not safe. And then from that point, I got to the point where I was actually caring for them, actually helping with feeding, cleaning out their cages, transporting them from place to place. That kind of knowledge and discernment only comes from taking some time and being cautious and staying back and observing and then determining whether or not they're safe or not. So to kind of go to your point, Cal, yes, there are some times where you're in the thick of things. Let's say you're walking through the woods. I don't know why any of us would be walking through the woods, like, but let's just say we were. Just for the sake of argument, we were, and you came across a snake. Yes, of course, you're going to want to be cautious and just say, "Let me avoid it." But as John was saying, once you've done your research and once you've had that time to observe and make an informed decision, that's when you can decide whether, hey, it's actually safe to kind of start letting up some of those walls and letting them in a little bit closer, or should you just, keep the walls up and actually put more defenses up there? So, and that kind of goes to today's politics as well. People should take that time to, instead of just hearing people on their campaign trail saying, like, I promise this, this, and this, do your research, kind of look into it. At first, don't go into the hype, slow it down a little bit and look into it and see if this is something or someone that you want to support. Are they someone who is supporting what you support over the long term, or are they just kind of going with the wind and what they think is popular at the time to get them in office? And that's the difference between someone who's going to be a psyop versus someone who might have learned as well.
To your
And
point, Jazo's point, and to double down on mine, So I understand what you're saying with real life experience versus scientific, from Jason, you posing it and quoting it as such, and you giving your real life experience, Dev, when it comes to handling the snakes and things like that. I do think this goes to literacy, like time, place, other mitigating factors should be taken in consideration with the quote.
Mhm.
Mind you, I live in a major city, right? It's not often that I'm going to see snakes at this point. Growing up in Florida, huh? Fuck around and find out.
Mhm.
But for instance, how I move now is different with snakes because I rarely encounter them and whatnot, and kind of have a little bit more knowledge. However, if I was living in fucking Australia, Dev, me, with my limited knowledge of snakes, I'm not asking any question. That's the devil's island, my nigga. That's when you look at the type of animals that are just outside, like outside the resort. Oh, don't walk too far into the grass. That shit, leaving it alone. But that's, you see what I'm saying? That's me in Australia. If I see a snake here, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like more than likely, you're not gonna do shit. Um, that's what I'm saying. Like here as Black Americans, you see what I'm saying? And I think that we have the most healthy, healthy engagement and analysis of dealing with white people, period, than I would say anybody else in the diaspora. Because again, growing up in Florida, Jazo, you know this, Dev, you've seen this and know this as well. There will be a shit ton of first generation African people who come over here, right? Their engagement with white people is very different because they have developed their perspective and point of view of Black America through a white lens. So everything that they get is the worst type of marketing when it comes to us and the best type of marketing and advertising when it comes to white people. So they come over here inherently trusting white people more and separating because they associate blackness with poverty, degeneracy, da 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 da, which again couldn't be further from the truth when you look at the history of people of color throughout the world. But again, we have to give our brothers and sisters grace. That's where Jay's over he said, is it worth the humanity? I don't feel like I'm giving up my humanity because I show my people grace. I show my people understanding. You see what I'm saying? Is it giving up my humanity if I cheer on a serial killer for finally getting his day in court and getting the fucking chair? No, he gave up his humanity. Why do I bear the brunt responsibility of being the bigger person when this motherfucker kills people? That's not, that's where I
And
come.
that's, see, and like I've been saying, you kind of making my point because how do I say this? Because it's not about, to use your example with the whole serial killer thing. No, I don't necessarily.
And before you go, I'm saying because I have limited information on bro outside of what you told me. My thing is I am out the gate not trusting you because of the tattoo. But I don't know you or have enough research on my side to tell the people of Maine who probably, if he is a solid person, could benefit from him being in office. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying don't vote for this nigga. He has a Nazi tattoo. I don't know, but as a black person, I inherently don't trust you because of that. That's all I'm saying.
See, and that's the thing. And that's to my point. Like, where we give and stop trust is a indictment to some of the humanity we've already lost. Because of our history here in this country, white people have already taken that from us. Hard stop. We are fundamentally more distrusting because of that. It's actually harder to find someone who is more trusting while maintaining their distance due to the history of this country, if that makes sense. Like, I'm like the stereotype of white people crossing the other side of the street because a black person's coming. I, as a black person, am more apt to move to the other side because I don't want no problems into accidentally bumping into someone. Like, we are more likely to do the thing they stereotype us for doing because we're trying to protect ourselves. Like, we're not, like, if you're a black person who has normal black person sense here in America, you're not rolling to a party without either your crew or you're just blatantly trusting white people. Like, hard stop. I went to a PWI. Right then and there should tell you part of my experience. I did not go to the HBCU. I went to a PWI. I've been to PWI parties. But you know what I didn't do? Mess with a white girl in a random place by myself. That's not happening. Because of my history with this country. But I'm still at the party, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have let the culture of this country make us go one extreme or the other. When most other cultures have the I'm just gonna use white people. Sorry, white people. Most white people have the caucasity to try. We've let them take the ability to try away from us, and I'm saying that's what we need to be able to have back. I'm not saying go buck wild. I'm not saying that, and that's kind of my point with Grand Platinum. I'm hitting you with the I'm watching you. I'm not saying, hey, you had a Nazi tattoo, you're not allowed to run, you fucked up, you're a Nazi. No. I'm saying you had a Nazi tattoo, so I know part of that history. I know what Nazis are about. So I'm over here, that man over there. I'm watching you. And if he ever gives me a reason to be like, don't come across these streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to let you rock. And that, I think, is the difference. We have to be like, I know the history of this thing, so I'm over here. I'm going to let you rock. And if you prove to me that, like, all right, you can be over here, I'm not doing a cookout analogy. We don't do that no more.
Where are the statute of limitations? So I'll say two things.
That is my fundamental point.
Yeah,
what is the statute of limitations? But when are we as a black people allowed to be like, I trust you? That's the question we always have to answer. And it's unfair to us. And we should be able to blatantly trust people like every other culture seems to be able to. But we don't have the luxury.
No.
But when do we have the capability to be like, I rock with you? Where's that line for us?
I think more so when it comes to, I don't want to call them unserious because they are still affecting people. But I can understand how you could get there. So for instance, if you were like a super like anti-abortion person, super duper, like you're running your campaign on it, or not even running your campaign. Let's do this before. You were super duper on that in college, right? Even in your early 20s. And then you got to a point and you were like, you know what? Me as a man should have no fucking say over what a woman does with her body. I've changed. That's cool. The reason that I ask about the statute of limitations is because when those tweets come out, Jazo, because they are definitely fucking coming out, those tweets of what he was thinking, how he was practicing early on, it's probably going to be from like 2014 or 15 when Twitter was fucking wild and you could just do whatever you want. Mind you, we could debate what's wild then versus wild now, because now they're just blatant porn on it. As a porn observer myself, not mad at it. That's what a burger comes for. But on my regular account, why am I like, oh dang, I like her cosplay. She looks fire. Let me see what other cosplay she has. Back shots. Oh.
But that goes to my, again, that kind of answers my point. When do we as black people allow to, one, where do we have the capability to give grace? And two, where do we have the capability to give a second chance or redemption? Because just based on the scenarios, I can bring up two people that quote unquote did terrible things in their past, seem to have grown, and we should give them benefit of doubt only because their actions have not repeated. And I stress the last part, have not repeated.
Okay.
James Gunn, Michael Vick. That's my point. Like, there's a point where
I'm not too familiar on James Gunn's like stuff outside of his movies. I'm not gonna act like I know, but Michael Vick I for sure know. Like,
yeah, like So it's like, again, and to juxtapose that, we got people like Kanye West and R. Kelly. Those are beyond redemption to me. Like, I feel you. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, where do we, and I'm gonna push it to Devin, get the capability to be like, I see you, we let it rock, and then I let your actions determine how I feel about you moving forward. Go, Devin.
So I agree with you, John, but I would word it a little bit differently here, because I think and this is why I had to go and write it down really, because you hit a point, and I was like, I think I see where you're going with it. It's less about, when do we decide when we're going to trust people, and more about when do we allow people to have the opportunity to prove themselves. Because as you've said there, like, people in general, white people and everything, of course, but other people as well, regardless, just going off of beliefs and so on and so forth, have in the past done absolutely terrible things, and they should be held accountable for that. However, there are some people who weren't even alive for some of those actions, so they shouldn't necessarily be held responsible for those same things. However, we
Not
shouldn't just
initially.
immediately give them the free pass and trust either. They should, however, get the opportunity to prove themselves one direction or the other. And with that, we should still be cautious because of that while they're going through that vetting process. And I think that's the difference between, being kind of heartless there and giving them grace and having that humanity there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If this man were to make office, all right, I know your backstory. I'm gonna let you prove yourself because the current actions you're holding now are the actions I want to see as the best of humanity. So therefore, I'm gonna give you the choice to prove yourself. If you ever prove yourself in the wrong direction, I'm up your ass. But like, it's not happening like that. But it's one of those things where it's like we as a culture we're almost becoming too jaded to the point where we're not even giving the people a choice to prove themselves. I get it. We don't get the luxury to trust people, and you shouldn't. But there's a point where we like, all right, I'm over here. It's like the stereotyping to use like rap beef. All right, what? Well, you think you cold? Let's see what you got. I'm over here though, and I'm gonna be up your ass if you hit with some bullshit. But all right, you say you can rap. Let's see what you got. Like, it's one of those type of scenarios. Like, at a certain point, we have to be able to like.
So I'm not mad at any black person that thinks like you, Jason, at all. Because as you said, you went to a PWI, you had a different experience. I went to an HBCU, different experience.
And keep in mind, my family Haitian. When we talking about rock bottoms, Haiti is out there. So let's keep it a
Yeah,
buck to understand where my background comes from. I
yeah,
understand rock the fuck slavery bottom. I am of a history of the first country to free ourselves from slavery. So
yeah,
like, and even then, in that to talk about BS, Haiti is still suffering from the fact they freed themselves first.
yep. And didn't he call y'all a shithole country? Or
Eating cats and dogs, we a shithole country.
yeah, so that's why I'm like, I'm not mad at anyone who thinks like you. And as a black man myself, I'm not going to act as the moral authority and police people for their school of thought that they belong to. I can only speak as the black person on the other side of it. I've seen what happens when black people give white people a chance to prove themselves. What would have happened again to go back to it because I mentioned the movie earlier? What would have happened in Sinners if they would have given them a chance to come in and prove themselves?
But that's the thing. I didn't say don't have discernment.
No, no,
I
no.
asked her to be like, hey, y'all outside,
And the
play
niggas
your
had
set out
glowing
there.
eyes. I would have immediately been
So,
like, what fucking shit popping like this?
I'd have been like, play your
so,
set out here, bro. Let's see what you got. Toss
and
some
I
money
don't,
inside. I'm not
and I
letting
don't
you
want to,
in. That's what I'm
I don't want
saying.
to, I don't want to interrupt your example there with Sinners, but I think there's a difference there between giving them a chance to prove themselves versus completely trusting them. I think completely trusting them would be actually letting them in which case that would have gone downhill real quick. What was done in the movie was they were kind of given an opportunity to prove themselves, and real quick, they proved where they were at on that one. Like with that example with the one dude who did get turned into a vampire, and not to go
On
into
brand.
too many. Yeah, with that whole conversation right there, he quickly proved.
Each other. Like,
Yeah, like
no.
that right there is the difference between having the opportunity to prove yourself versus
Yeah.
entirely trusting
But no,
them.
I'm simply saying it from the standpoint of we've seen black people be open and trusting of people and be like,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, the phrase that we don't use because it's bullshit and this is the Just No Bullshit podcast. You're invited to the cookout. We have seen black people invite some of the worst whites ever to the cookout. Ever. Some of the worst. Like, oh
But
yeah, like even so much so, I just saw a clip that reminded me of it where there was a roast on Justin Bieber. Kevin Hart got up there and he was like, yeah, I bet y'all didn't know that years ago Justin Bieber made a song called One Less Lonely Nigger where he talked about killing black people. Bet y'all didn't know that. And the crowd was already kind of like, bitch, what? He did that shit? And he was like, and them niggas ain't do shit. That shit gangster, Justin. No, it's not gangster. You're weird. You're
Mm-hmm.
weird for that. And I didn't, again, I knew that because you dig far enough into white people's, especially popular white people's past, you're gonna see some weird shit. Mark Wahlberg was heavily fucking racist growing up in Philly. Do not let these niggas rebrand the Eagles to be some black love organ. Eagles fans, Knicks fans, um, Jay Zo can attest, Yankees fans as well.
um,
They got some
actually,
weird niggas.
so actually, that again, that goes more to my point than to yours. As far as the Knicks and Yankees, Phillies, they still a little city
They're a
of
little
brotherly
off.
love ain't so lovely sometimes. But ironically enough, when we talk about Justin Bieber, not even a few years ago, he was like, I regret a lot of the stuff I did as a kid and I deserved a lot of it. He actually, basically, once that guy met his current girl and got married, he shaped up his life and he's actually been less problematic than as a kid. Do we still hold him to account as a kid?
No, no, no.
Here, no, here's
I'm not
with
saying that. I'm saying we need the fact that he said that's dope. Got to find that where he said that because at the time there was like this whole like Justin Bieber is the new Justin Timberlake brand thing, to where they were like launching him. Oh, he got the black people on his side because he's under Usher. I remember all of that, and it
yeah.
was like,
So that's again, you like you're. I think you are saying the things, but you're not understanding the crux of my point. We go as black people, we always are forced to go 0 to 100.
yeah,
My point is saying, when do we go 0 to 85, and then depending on what the hell you do with your life, I either bring it down or go and crank it up. That's what I'm asking here, because at the end
okay,
of the day, Justin Bieber, based on his actions as an adult, I'm cranking it back because he's been less problematic. He's been dealing with his life, understanding his issues, understanding he was a fucked up kid.
mm,
Also, not to necessarily his fault. No one fucking checked him as a kid.
yeah,
Letting him run around as a 16-year-old kid with a monkey acting like a fool when some person, hell, Usher, because you managed him, should have backhanded him and been like, what the fuck is you doing? Go apologize. Like,
yeah.
like,
I do think to answer your question and to re-reference what I said, like the statute of limitations, bro, it's got to be 10 years, bro. It's got once we start juggling like racist shit, racist iconography, Nazism, Confederate South, da 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 da. Nigga, I need 10 years about you. I need 10 years of continued good behavior. Nigga, you get the same probation that Young Thug got. Play if you want. You're going right back. Do
see,
one
and
thing wrong. You're going
and
right back.
that is something I can agree with you with. You as an individual being like, look, you did some fucked up shit. I know the history of that fucked up shit. If you behave for the next 10 years and the rest of your life, you work to fight against those things,
Cool. And that's why Tyler the Creator. Thank you. I didn't even say.
it was in my notes. Yeah.
Would never come around. No. Tyler the Creator was one to where I remember seeing him early on. Because I was in college 2011 to like 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, 2015. Um, and I
I remember that
remember,
shit too.
yeah, I remember seeing it and I was like, this kind of weird. I kind of fuck with this shit because at the time there was a shifting of like the 50 Cent and Kanye West thing was the nexus point of like what is the next 10 to 15 years going to sound like. And then Kanye won, and then you get the J. Cole's, the Drakes, the Wale's, the Big Crits, the da 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 da. You get the influx of like different Mac Miller, Tyler the Creator, Vince State. You get these alternative black people, right? So I'm watching them like, oh, this shit's kind of weird. That Earl Sweatshirt nigga can rap his fucking ass off though. I'm locked in. Let me see what's going on. Boom. I remember him being kind of weird, being edgy, even his shit on Adult Swim. But I wasn't heavily on Twitter like that, so I didn't see a lot of that. So now, when the stuff comes out and I'm looking at the year date, it's like, y'all trying to cancel a nigga when he said this is his last album? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And it's like, what, 14 years too late? That nigga passed the statute of limitations. He's he's good. He's good. He's campaigned for independent artists. All of the black people who are working with him are on dope shit. One of his homeboys is, I think he was on the Bear. He was on the Bear. Um, all of the weird black guys kind of like they catch the brunt of it and like the ire of the greater black populace in America. But it's like, but these niggas, as soon as they got to a certain place to educate themselves and learn more, they were like, damn, what I was doing was cringe as fuck. My fault. That doesn't get highlighted. You see what I'm saying? To where it's like that concession speech of I was tripping, whoop de whoop. But that is the accompanying factor from my perspective. Dev, you can talk about this from from a political landscape, geopolitical landscape as well. But from like a personal entertainment, specifically hip hop space, the black dudes who are like the children of Eminem, they have a very hard time. Number one, crossing over to a mainstream art, like to a mainstream audience, and number two, maintaining their blackness while becoming successful. And Hobson was one of them. Hobson failed badly. What's the famous Dax? Yeah, famous Dax failed. He was another one of them. And Tyler was just like lightning in a bottle, period. But he got to a point where he's like, oh no, I love black people. My bad, I was tripping. I was in a really edgy, cringe era of my life, and I had a very large audience, and I misused my influence.
And funny thing about Tyler the Creator, again, like I love what you're saying, and it keeps coming back to my point. He's still like almost like clockwork. Every 4 years or so, something comes up, and he still has to take account for it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not
He did
saying
it.
you get a blanket level of trust. I'm just saying, when do we give people the right to keep proving us wrong? And the people that keep bringing this up are either new people or people that generally don't think he's done enough to get the pass. And I
And
use pass
is another
and
one.
I use pass in a very almost facetious way because we don't give passes, but someone should have the room to grow. Like, and that is fundamentally my overall point. When, as black people, how are we the arbiters of giving people room to grow? Like, how do we use that effectively in our society? Because from my eyes, from my vision, we blanket too much to the point where it's like we almost ostracizing certain things, whether for good or wrong. I'm not saying we pick like we almost need to pick and choose in a sense, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if we're not even taking the opportunity to pick and choose, who are we going to get on our side? And what I hate about I'm not saying you're doing this because I know you're not. You're coming from a place of good faith. I know you. But too many people that make the arguments very similar to yours wind up being them ADOS or whatever type people.
Oh,
And
the FBA,
yeah,
FBA.
FBA or ADOS type people.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I'm just like, you're acting in bad faith and you're not using any real grace because we talk about black people not being a monolith, but we also want to talk about us being a whole diaspora. It's not about picking and choosing that. It's a matter of how do we connect us all together to fight for the fact that we've all been screwed. And that requires, at some point, picking and choosing our allies. If we're not even bothered to picking and choosing our ally, we're
It's
cutting
being
part of...
chosen for us. It's being chosen for us at that point. And I'm
And that's where we get the psyopters.
yes. So that's why I'm like, I'm not in a position in regards to this specific man, because in the words of Keke Palmer, I ain't never seen this man a day in my life. But I
Ironically,
am
I wanted to talk about her too, but we pushing the time here.
my bad, my bad. Let me be quick.
No. We don't got time. We'll probably have to see that for next episode.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh damn. Oh
yeah, we cooked on that first section. So
yeah.
Dev, go ahead. You got
Yeah.
thoughts? Wrap it up, sir.
So just kind of tying it back to the whole humanity thing, we as humans and everything have the ability to discern, right from wrong. We're able to discern what's healthy for us, what's going to, harm us in some way, shape, or form. Some people may agree or disagree when it comes to different animals, whether or not they're able to do the same thing, but at least for the most part, we tend to go and see that they err on the side of what's going to keep them alive at the end of the day. They are not in a position where they are able to go and say, like, oh, hey, you know what? Well, this might work out, so let's go ahead and give it a shot and everything will be fine. Because usually in the animal kingdom, that usually gets you killed. So again, as humans, we do have that ability. As Black people, that was something that was kind of taken away from us for a while, for quite some time. And we have to learn to be able to tap into that again in order to grow. Because otherwise, we're really no different. We are just acting the same way that Black people as a whole were put into. Really, that whole position where, we are less than human. We need to be able to go and take that back in order to get back to where we should be. And anytime that we stray away from that, that we are taking that opportunity away from ourselves at that point.
And I'm cool with that as long as that's not at the behest of allowing races.
Oh, absolutely. And that I
Like-
absolutely agree with.
I'm not saying y'all are. That's
Yeah.
that was for everybody listening, for the greater public at large. I am for grace and understanding and things like that after them statute of limitations are up on your probation. But we're not letting racist people come in and co-op shit and do weird shit.
Right.
We're not. Because y'all did that. And lastly, Jazo, as you said, like essentially the world has been flattened through this technology era. We can just go back and find your bullshit at this point. Because a racist has, if they have anything, they have the caucasity to do some fuck shit and just leave it out there in the open. Because again, in their mind, who gonna check them? In their mind, they're saying the quiet part out loud that their constituents whisper about within these back halls, on these campuses. You see what I'm saying? So again, I'm with you, Jazo, to a point. But again, I am not the moral authority, and I will not police any Black person's right to look at someone with fair, just, and well-researched eyes. Not gonna do that.
Yeah. And I think fundamentally that's what we should be doing. And then at the end of the day, be like, again, my whole stance is I see you from the distance. I'll give you the space to. What's that phrase? I give you just enough rope to hang yourself with.
Yep.
That is what my parents taught me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you just enough freedom to see if you make a fuck up. That's my goal. And based on that level, and this could be individualistic, but based on where you feel like, all right, whether it's your idea of you got 10-year probation and for 10 years they didn't fuck up, like, all right, now I give you a little more grace. I think we have to figure out what is that, and that is part of what, to wrap things up, what literacy gives us. Being able to understand, look beyond, and make your discernment based on your life experience, what you've read, what you've learned, and good faith moral arguments. You can be like, all right, I know that most of the time this don't work, but I'm gonna give you just enough space because you might be the one that's different to see if you fuck it up or not. It's like, hey man, we gave y'all your own thing, let's see if you messed it up, but you ain't coming over here to mess up our thing. I think that's all we need as a culture, and to stop being like, because strangely enough, we act like the moral too far too often. Black people act like the moral authority, like, I knew something was fucked up over there. It's like, but do you know everything though? I use the Jesse Smollett example as the perfect one. A lot of black people were back like, something don't sound right, but we with you. And a lot of times I'm like, should we have even been with him at all? Because this whole thing's all fucked up. But hey, the whole thing was a lie, apparently.
But it was, that was I can give.
It was literally negative on negative. Everything was wrong. Like
No,
the
no,
cops
no. All I'm saying is where I'm coming from was look, because you said it's a snapshot of the time. What was happening at that time? People were being brutalized by the police. People being ran down on by white supremacists. So at the time, it was like, well, he wouldn't be immune, obviously, because he's not like a movie star or anything. So I think that's where the hesitancy came, because the story sounds fucking stupid, but it's also like, well, shit, a lot of black people are looking at this like, oh, this shit just happened like 2 counties away for us. Oh, they just did this shit to my cousin. Oh, so it's like, if that was a good grift. It was a good attempt at a grift.
One of the best.
But
they say it's again, a good grifter. I've seen other grifters.
And this is where discernment is, because the group of black people like that were like, there's something suspect about it, is because you went to Subway at 2 a.m. in the middle of the worst winter in Chicago.
Sit your ass
down. What black person do that?
No, well, yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that same case in point. That's my point. And we're wrapping it up there, because I made it.
As soon as you said it in my brain, I was like, why the fuck are you going to Subway? And then I was like, why the fuck are you trying to get forever?
All right, John, I'm gonna steal this one and go and say, I was a little shaky there, a little shaky, but you made it. You made it. Okay, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. But yeah, as you can see, even with a serious topic, we can wrap things up with a little bit of a laugh, y'all. So just remember, use discernment. It's okay to be cautious. It's also okay to have faith and give grace. Just know where you stand and what you're willing to take. Set your own boundary and be kind to people. I think that's the best you can do. And when it comes to literacy, read a lot. You'll understand more experiences, even if you don't get a chance to experience them all yourself. Final thoughts, fellas?
No, that was a good wrap up right there. Like, you hit the last one I was going to say.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Smart people learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from others.
Yep.
Learn from other people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. As always, we'll end things with another quote, because Cal gave us one already, but I'll end you with another quote. Any fool can know something. The point is to understand. Albert Einstein. On that note, I've been your boy John.
This is Dev.
Okay.
Peace.